Mauricio Leal Hernandez was born on November 25, 1974, in the municipality of Cartago, located in Valle del Cauca, Colombia. He was the son of Marlene Hernandez Tabarez and Nelson Leal Santos, and had an older brother named Johnny Rodolfo Leal Hernandez. Throughout his life, he had 4 half-siblings from both sides of his family, the youngest of whom is Carlos Gondras Garcia Hernandez. Although he spent much of his childhood in the coffee region, Mauricio ultimately lived most of his life in Cali. His family struggled to overcome the difficulties of their upbringing. Mauricio and his brother were nearly inseparable. They attended the same school and shared many friendships. However, their childhood was marked by challenges, as their parents often quarreled, creating a tumultuous home environment. Despite these hardships, Mauricio's personality radiated charisma and joy, and he consistently sought the positive side of life. He developed a keen interest in hairdressing, fascinated by how a simple haircut could dramatically uplift someone's mood. Recognizing this passion, his mother encouraged him to pursue it, enrolling him in a hairstyling course. Although he was not permitted to attend classes, he eagerly watched from a window. At the age of 15, his life took a significant turn when his parents separated. Mauricio, weary of the ongoing conflicts, suggested the separation himself. Following the breakup, his father ceased financial support, prompting Mauricio to assume the role of the man of the house. He began working to help his mother sustain their household. The family moved to Cali, where the young Mauricio took on various jobs. He awoke at 3:30 a.m. to sell apas, attended school and church, and in the afternoons, he packaged parcels for a delivery company. For almost 2 years, he managed to survive on just 4 hours of sleep each night to fulfill his responsibilities and assist his mother financially. At 17, he discovered his true vocation when he began working as an assistant in a hair salon. This opportunity arose after he met a woman at church who offered him the position. Initially, he was limited to tasks like washing hair and sweeping, but he was determined to build a career in hairdressing. While performing these basic duties, he meticulously observed his surroundings to understand the intricacies of the profession. After a month, Mauricio felt prepared to become a hairdresser and asked his boss for the opportunity to demonstrate his skills with scissors. Thanks to his initiative, both clients and colleagues recognized his natural talent, and he soon became their hairdresser of choice. His natural talent made him the star hairdresser in town, and word quickly spread that everyone wanted him to cut their hair. This desire was not only due to his exceptional skill but also because of his charisma and friendly demeanor. Years later, he decided to open his own salon, aptly named Mauricio Leal Hairdresser, where his name had already become synonymous with quality. Clients flocked to his establishment, and eventually he hired more employees, including his brother Joe. Although Joe did not share the same passion for the barbershop as Mauricio, he was eager to work and support his brother. A few years later, Mauricio made the bold decision to move to Bogota to further advance his career and transform the hairstyling and beauty industry. There, he established a new concept of hairdressing that quickly gained popularity, attracting a distinguished clientele that included beauty queens, actresses, and singers. Notable figures like Carolina Cruz, Lena Tijaro, Laura Acuna, Cristina Umana, and Andrea Nazzetti were regulars at his salon. Despite his rising fame, Mauricio remained a sweet and charismatic individual. His extraordinary talent led him to grace magazine covers, appear on television programs, participate in fashion weeks, and even star in movies. His nickname, Mato, became synonymous with quality and style. In 2006, Mauricio took another significant step in his career by partnering with one of his regular clients to open a salon in Miami, Florida, which he named E-Commerce SA. Initially, everything seemed to be going well, fulfilling one of his dreams. However, this success was short-lived when it was revealed that his partner was the daughter-in-law of Miguel Torregas Urrejola, the notorious leader of the Cali Ka. Due to this connection, Mauricio found himself included on the Clinton list, which identifies individuals and organizations associated with drug money. It remains unclear whether Mauricio was aware of his partner's connections or if he was unwittingly deceived. Regardless, his association with this scandal led to the seizure of all his accounts and assets, forcing him to close his Miami salon. He entrusted the management of his Colombian stores to his mother, the person he loved and trusted most, which caused some discomfort for his brother, Junior, who felt he should have been in charge. Despite these challenges, Mauricio remained dedicated to his craft and managed to recover, returning to Bogota. There he continued his business and retained the loyalty of his clientele. He eventually accumulated enough wealth to purchase a luxurious condominium, where he settled down to live with his mother in 2017. He had to undergo surgery after suffering from pseudoarthrosis for 14 years, a condition that occurs when a bone fails to heal properly after a fracture, leading to immobility and intense pain in the affected area. This ailment caused Mauricio persistent pain in his back and chest, prompting him to opt for surgery. Unfortunately, he was unable to practice his profession for nearly 2 years. While Mauricio's fame continued to rise, his brother Junior's fortunes were deteriorating. The global health emergency led to the bankruptcy of his business, leaving him with substantial debts totaling approximately 300 million Colombian pesos, around $4,000. Junior's challenges were not limited to financial issues. He was also experiencing a marital crisis that ultimately resulted in his separation from his wife, Lucilina Betancourt, with whom he had 3 children, Mauricio's nephews, whom he financially supported to further their education. Concerned for his brother's situation, Junior reached out to Mauricio, offering him not only a job at his hair salon, but also an invitation to live with him and their mother in his luxurious home. He provided substantial financial assistance to help Mauricio settle his debts. At 47, it seemed Mauricio had it all. He was recognized not only as one of the best stylists in Colombia, but also gained acclaim abroad. Yet his heart bore several sorrows. He grappled with the knowledge that his younger half-brother, Carlos Andres, was serving a 15-year prison sentence for having sexually abused his 14-year-old stepdaughter since 2016. Mauricio had tried to help Carlos financially, but he understood the complexity of the situation. Additionally, he was mourning the loss of his father due to complications from the global emergency, while his mother was recovering from aggressive cancer. Despite these hardships, Mauricio maintained an optimistic outlook and had several plans on the horizon. One of his dreams was to open a restaurant adjacent to hair salon, named Mauricio Leal Coffee Lunch Bar. He was also considering the expansion of his hair salon. He also planned to open another salon in Cartagena, as he had built a clientele in the Caribbean region and even aspired to write a book. However, everything changed on November 22nd, 2021, when all these dreams were abruptly halted. That day was pivotal for Mauricio's career. He was set to sign a contract as a consultant for the Miss Universe Colombia pageant, and his schedule was packed with engagements, including one with the prominent singer Fanny Lu. As the morning unfolded, concern grew among his employees and clients due to Mauricio's unexplained absence. Fanny Lu, who urgently needed his assistance in selecting a wardrobe for an upcoming event, attempted to reach him multiple times, but to no avail. His marketing director and right-hand woman, Karen Ruiz, who was also the daughter of his chauffeur, Jer Ruiz, shared the same frustration. Despite their persistent attempts, Mauricio did not respond to their calls, and at times it seemed he was deliberately avoiding them. That morning, the salon team was busy with Christmas decorations, with Mauricio's driver in charge of setting up the tree. Everyone had arrived at the salon early to contribute to the preparations. Karen inquired about Mauricio's whereabouts from her father, who revealed that around 6 a.m., Mauricio had sent him a message indicating that he would not be coming in and requested that the maid not be taken home, as he wanted to rest. Jer noted that Mauricio usually sent voice memos, as he preferred speaking to writing due to his frequent spelling mistakes. Additionally, he seldom referred to Jer by name. Karen decided to call Junior to check if he had any information about Mauricio. He informed her that he had left the house early that morning while Mauricio and their mother were still asleep. Mauricio's absence left everyone puzzled. Throughout his entire career, he had never missed any appointments. Junior, who had not gone to the salon that morning either, began to insistently call Jer to see what was wrong with Mauricio. However, Jer was busy shopping for decorations and couldn't leave at that moment. Junior continued to press, offering to pick up Jer from the salon to accompany him to Mauricio's house. Eventually, the two men set off together to check on Mauricio. Upon arriving at the house, Junior handed the keys to the driver, instructing him to enter first. The home was engulfed in silence, creating an unsettling atmosphere. They checked Marlene's room, but it was empty and meticulously arranged. Growing concerned, they proceeded to Mauricio's room, only to find the door locked. They knocked and called out several times, but received no response. Jonia then urged Jer to call the police, but Jer insisted on finding a way to enter through a back window. Fortunately, that particular window, which was usually locked, was unlatched that day. What Jer discovered in the room was horrifying. Mauricio lay on the bed, with multiple wounds and a knife plunged into his abdomen, his hands gripping the handle. Covered by sheets was Marlene, 67 years old, also with several wounds. Immediately they reported the incident to the police, who arrived on the scene around 4 p.m. Both bodies exhibited stab wounds from a sharp object. As the authorities conducted their investigation, they found another knife under one of the pillows, along with a cell phone, a box of sleeping pills, a glass, and a tumbler on the nightstand. Next to these items lay a letter, which appeared to be a farewell note from Mauricio. The letter read, "I love you, forgive me. I can't stand my nephews and brothers anymore. I leave you everything with all my love. Forgive me, Mum. 112. The bodies were subsequently taken to the morgue to determine the cause of death. Based on the contents of the letter, detectives hypothesized that Mauricio may have taken his mother's life before ending his own. Jonia had informed the authorities that morning when he noticed neither his brother nor his mother were answering their cell phones, and Mauricio had missed his appointments with clients. His information proved crucial for the investigation. It was revealed that Mauricio had been suffering from a chronic illness, enduring intense pain that necessitated the use of painkillers. He considered that this might have been the reason for ending his life, however. For the more experienced agents, the scene resembled a crime scene. The bodies were too neatly arranged, and some of Mauricio's injuries appeared defensive. Despite their suspicions, they needed to await the forensic analysis of both bodies and the sharp objects found at the scene to rule out any hypotheses. As all the forensic tests were conducted, the tragic news quickly went viral, sending shockwaves through the world of show business. On November 26th, in a funeral home in the city, family and friends gathered to bid their final farewells to Mauricio and his mother. At the end of the service, those present released white balloons into the air in tribute to the deceased. Friends of the victims publicly demanded a thorough investigation, expressing disbelief that Mauricio would have harmed his own mother. They emphasized the close bond they shared and insisted that he would never consider taking his own life, given his success. Among those calling for clarification from the police and the prosecutor's office was Jonia, who appeared in several local media outlets giving interviews. "It was incredibly difficult to enter that room," he recounted. "First, my brother's driver went in, and then I followed. When we saw the scene, everything began to shake. We were overwhelmed at that moment. We called the police, and then the unit's guards arrived, followed by the police, the CTI, and finally forensic medicine. My God, what happened here?" While the world and relatives of Mauricio and his mother tried to process the devastating news and sought answers, authorities initiated an investigation that, as weeks passed, would unveil a murky truth that shocked the entire country. The first step for the detectives was to analyze the farewell note. Although graphologists confirmed it was Mauricio's handwriting, they noted irregularities, such as inconsistent strokes and variations in pressure, suggesting he may have been coerced into writing it. The numbers 112 in the letter coincided with the date on which Mauricio would have turned 48, on November 24th. This led detectives to theorize that he might have been forced to write the note prior to his death, prompting them to investigate who might be behind this coercion. The authorities resumed their questioning of Jer, Mauricio's driver, and Jonia. Jer's behavior on the day the bodies were discovered raised suspicions. He claimed he had attempted to resuscitate Mauricio, but Jonia advised him against it, fearing it would contaminate the crime scene. During the interrogations, Jonia provided details about the day he found the bodies of his mother and brother. He explained that he had been taking sleeping pills and had not heard anything throughout the night. The next morning, he needed to visit a relative before heading to the hairdresser. The last he remembered was seeing Mauricio sleeping next to their mother and brother, leaving them undisturbed. Preliminary results from the forensic studies on Marlene's body classified her death as a homicide. In Mauricio's case, further examinations were necessary due to the variety of injuries he sustained, including bruises on his arms and forearms. Although the size and location of these injuries were not specified, their presence suggested they could have been inflicted during a struggle or defensive action. This raised suspicions and leaned towards the hypothesis that both had been murdered. The injuries on Mauricio's forearms indicated he likely tried to protect himself. Forensic experts noted that the location of his wounds was particularly telling. The cross pattern of some injuries implied an excessive use of force. Moreover, Marlene's wounds suggested they had been inflicted by a left-handed person. One of Mauricio's injuries was exceptionally deep, leading investigators to conclude that if he had inflicted it upon himself during the third stab, he wouldn't have had enough strength left to penetrate that deeply. These inconsistencies began to reshape and clarify various aspects of the case. Finally, the mystery unraveled on December 15th, when the final results of the forensic report confirmed that both Mauricio and his mother had indeed been murdered. The police were confronted with a double homicide, and toxicological studies revealed that both victims had overdosed on a powerful relaxant commonly used by individuals who struggle to fall asleep. This relaxant matched the empty blister packs found on the bedside table in Mauricio's room. As the investigation progressed and it became evident that a double crime had occurred, authorities speculated that it might be a case of settling scores due to the significant amounts of undeclared money Mauricio possessed. The investigation uncovered unusual and irregular financial activities associated with Mauricio's businesses, including significant increases in a short period, which often indicated potential money laundering. Several intriguing details emerged, notably payments made to Mauricio by a woman named Viviana Newell Valilla, the sister of the Newell brothers, who were convicted in the Carousel de la Contratación scandal, a public works corruption scandal that took place in Bogota in 2010. These payments were ostensibly for hairdressing and manicure services, prompting the prosecutor's office to investigate whether they were connected to money laundering activities. The prosecution's actions included raids on several of Mauricio's properties, during which the state seized almost 1.6 billion Colombian pesos, equivalent to about $400,000, which was allegedly used to pay for these services. At that time, Mauricio's assets amounted to over 4.022 billion Colombian pesos, roughly equivalent to $1 million. Agents began to delve into the stylist's past, searching for enemies who might have been involved in the crime and exploring potential links to drug trafficking. They theorized that Mauricio might have revealed compromising information that could have led to his demise. Despite Mauricio's reputation for his big heart and the affection many felt for him, it was also well known that envy existed among some of his friends and family. Detectives also considered the possibility that rival hairdressers may have plotted against him to eliminate the competition and secure his clientele. However, the investigation revealed that the weapon used in the crime had been taken from Mauricio's kitchen, and there were no signs of forced entry through doors or windows. Investigators decided to concentrate on Mauricio's inner circle during the investigation. They noted that Junior had exhibited suspicious behavior, particularly regarding his late-night sleeping patterns and frequent appointment cancellations. Jer mentioned having observed peculiarities in a message from Mauricio that morning, wherein Mauricio had instructed him not to go to the house and referred to him as baby. Additionally, during a meeting with Mauricio's lawyer, Junior made comments suggesting that he believed he would be the sole heir and expressed a desire to sell the house. He also pressed the lawyer about the fate of the inheritance if he were to go to jail. Though these details seemed insignificant at first glance, they became crucial to the investigation. Jer was ruled out as a suspect due to his solid alibi and lack of access to Mauricio's house. His testimony proved vital for investigators, and he emerged as one of the prosecution's key witnesses. Based on his account, authorities shifted their focus to Junior, who was displaying increasingly odd behavior. He began giving interviews to the media while wearing a jacket that belonged to Mauricio and repeatedly claimed that his brother had taken their mother's life before ending his own, a narrative that had already been dismissed by the police. Further intensifying suspicions against him, reports of a supposed financial dispute between Junior and Mauricio surfaced. The victim's brother was increasingly regarded as a potential suspect, especially since he and his children stood to benefit from Mauricio's inheritance. Alarmingly, just one day after the discovery of the bodies, Junior initiated the process of dividing Mauricio's assets, raising additional red flags due to the haste with which he acted. In response to these growing suspicions, Junior denied any wrongdoing and asserted that he had no knowledge of his brother's financial matters, claiming that the prosecutor's office had frozen Mauricio's bank accounts. Between December 2021 and January 2022, searches were conducted at Mauricio's home, along with the extraction of phone records from the cell phones of both victims and Jonia. These investigations yielded significant findings. Security cameras at the residential complex revealed that on November 20th, at 9:59 p.m. Mauricio entered the house, followed almost an hour later by Jonia, who arrived at 10:52 p.m. Jonia exited again on November 21st around noon to buy food, returning home at 2 p.m. Later that day, he attended a family party, as confirmed by phone records indicating he left for the gathering at 7:14 p.m. At that time, Marlon sent him a voice note thanking him for taking care of her pets and expressing her gratitude. While Jonia was at the party, he received another voice note from Mauricio at 9:01 p.m., in which Mauricio requested a favor, asking Jonia to buy a package of Club Social and whole wheat cookies, acknowledging it might be an inconvenience given that Jonia was likely tired. Later, at 11:37 p.m., on Sunday night, Jonia was captured on security cameras returning to the house. He remained there for nearly 12 hours before leaving again at 11:19 a.m. on November 22nd, at which point he contacted Jer to falsely claim he was not in the house. This statement was entirely misleading, as the crime had occurred between 11:45 p.m. on November 21st and 5:53 a.m. the following day. The timeline indicated that Jonia had been the only person in the house at the time of the crime, as it was implausible for anyone other than a resident to enter without being detected by the cameras. Moreover, it became evident that Jonia had lied in his initial statement to the police. This was not the only evidence against him. During the search of the residence, investigators discovered a drop of blood on the stairs, further implicating him in the crime. Investigators discovered a blood drop on the stairs and another on a towel in the bathroom that Jonia was using. Malini, who had a blood relation to Jonia, was also implicated, but the evidence did not stop there. When the bathroom plumbing in Mauricio's room was unclogged, human blood was found, although it could not be identified. Additionally, in Jonia's bathroom, several cleaning products and a mop were located. When questioned about these items, Mauricio's maid stated that she typically left them in the toilet area, not in the bathroom where they were found. Further examination revealed that Mauricio's side of the bed was soaked with blood, while no traces were found where his mother's body was discovered. Strikingly, the sheets on Marlene's bed appeared freshly changed and completely clean. This led detectives to conclude that Marlene's life had not been taken in the location where her body was found. Instead, they theorized that her body had been moved from the 3rd floor, where her room was located, down to the 2nd floor, where Mauricio's room was, and where the crime had occurred. The agents suspected that Jonia was the perpetrator of the double murder, having meticulously cleaned the crime scene to create the illusion that it was a case of voluntary loss of life rather than a violent act. As they delved deeper into the investigation, authorities learned that Jonia had a cut on his hand, which he claimed was the result of an accident with a pair of scissors at work. However, this injury was consistent with the weapon used to kill Mauricio and Marlene. Furthermore, it was revealed that Jonia had substantial debts, some of which were paid off days after Mauricio's death, following large withdrawals from his brother's accounts. Jonia had initially claimed that on the night of November 21st, he had taken Valerian to sleep, but according to the data traffic report from his phone, he had been actively surfing the internet and social networks into the early hours of the morning. The crimes occurred during that time, despite Jonia claiming he was asleep. Everything pointed to him as the culprit, since he tried to erase the evidence of the crime, tampered with the bodies, and cleaned the crime scene. Additionally, he impersonated his brother in the text messages sent to Jer and attempted to fabricate a completely false alibi. It became known that Jonia sent several voice messages to his mother and Mauricio in the morning to make them believe he had left the house and knew nothing about them. In one of those messages, he said, "Hello, my beautiful mother. How do you wake up? I saw that you slept a lot yesterday. I arrived last night and you were asleep. I came back now, and you are still asleep. Here I am sending you the receipt of the transfer. God bless you, I love you very much." With this arsenal of evidence, on January 14th, 2022, the prosecutor's office arrested Jonier and charged him with double homicide, aggravated assault, and concealment or destruction of evidence. Agents went to his home at 9 p.m. To arrest him, he did not resist and complied with all the orders. The prosecutor's office seized 2 properties, 2 cars and a motorcycle belonging to Mauricio, and also imposed a freeze on 2 companies and 2 commercial establishments of Jonier, as it was discovered that they had an illicit origin. The hearing took place on January 18, 2022, and was broadcast online. During the hearing, Jonier maintained that he had never laid a hand on his mother or his brother. However, the prosecutor revealed chilling details about the investigations, asserting that he had evidence showing Jonier was the only person present in the residence during the night and early morning of the crime, apart from the victims. The deaths occurred between 11:45 p.m. on Sunday, November 21, 2021, and 5 a.m. on Monday, November 22, 2021. The public prosecutor's office also conducted a reconstruction of the events of that fateful night, according to the accusation. Jonier had been planning the crime for 4 months prior to its execution. He moved a house shared by his mother and brother under the pretense of having problems with his wife, allowing him to familiarize himself with the layout of the house and the objects he would later as to take their lives. On the night of November 21, 2021, Jonier forced both his brother and mother to ingest 9 sedative pills each, waiting for the effects to take hold during the early hours of the morning. He first attacked his mother while she was sleeping in her room, and then moved her body to his brother's room, where he assaulted Mauricio with a sharp object, inflicting multiple wounds while he was defenseless. Afterward, he coerced Mauricio into writing a letter stating that he was leaving all his money to Jonier. To fabricate a scenario that would suggest Mauricio had killed their mother before taking his own life, Jonier altered the crime scene. He changed the sheets on Marlene's bed and used cleaning products to eliminate any trace of blood. The prosecution informed Jonier that if he accepted the charges, he could receive a reduction of up to 50% of his sentence. However, Jonier, anticipating the need for a consultation with his defense attorney, refused to accept the charges. This decision meant he could face up to 50 years in prison without the possibility of parole. His lawyer argued for the annulment of the trial, citing an alleged violation of due process, but the judge rejected these arguments, affirming the legality of the arrest and indictment. Eventually, Jonier accepted a plea bargain in which he agreed to plead guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence of 27 years and 6 months, along with a fine equivalent to 200 minimum monthly wages. However, shortly thereafter, his lawyer requested an examination by the Institute of Legal Medicine and Forensic Sciences to assess Jonier's mental state at the time of the murders. The lawyer argued that if he were deemed not responsible due to potential mental disorders, Jonier could not be confined in a standard prison but would need to be transferred to a specialized facility. SB clarified that this request did not indicate that his client was retracting the agreement signed with the prosecutor's office. Rather, it was a step to verify whether he was criminally responsible. It was known that on March 29, 2022, Jonier accepted the charges in a public hearing, apologizing to the country and his family. To everyone's surprise, during the pre-agreement verification hearing, Jonier's new lawyer announced that they would not accept the deal and retracted the plea bargain, stating that Jonier had acted under pressure when he initially confessed to killing his mother and brother. He proclaimed his innocence, asserting that he was an honest person who lived solely to serve his family, his children, and society. The media highlighted the alleged pressure Jonier faced when he admitted to taking the lives of his mother and brother. This judicial case involved several family members, including some of Marlene's brothers and Mauricio's siblings. Jonier stood to inherit a substantial fortune represented by 2 houses, one of which was the crime scene, a hair salon that bore his name, 2 high-end vehicles, a motorcycle, and a company. Since Mauricio had never married and had no living parents or children, Jonier was the sole heir. However, being the alleged perpetrator of Mauricio's death meant that under Colombian law, he was unworthy of inheritance. Amidst these developments, a new claimant emerged, Carlos Andres, Mauricio's half-brother, who was imprisoned for allegedly abusing his stepdaughter's minor daughter. Initially, he claimed disinterest in Mauricio's fortune, but something prompted a change of heart, and he began seeking legal advice on how to secure the inheritance. Meanwhile, the Attorney General's office requested the forfeiture of all of Mauricio's properties due to suspected money laundering. Investigators discovered financial transactions of dubious origin occurring between 2006 and 2017. Between 2006 and 2017, investigators uncovered unjustified bank deposits, including a significant deposit of 707 million Colombian pesos, equivalent to approximately $75,000, as well as a withdrawal close to 1,902 million Colombian pesos, nearly $500,000. These unusual transactions were traced back to the account of Mauricio's mother. A court ruled on the matter, leading the public prosecutor's office to request the forfeiture of ownership of the assets amassed by Mauricio during his 27 years of work. The court placed these assets under the administration of the Special Assets Company, determining that none of his relatives could claim ownership unless they provided evidence of legitimate rights, such as wills or ownership documents. However, no such documentation has been presented, and to date, Mauricio's inheritance remains under the authorities' custody amidst the scandal generated by the case. After several months, the trial against Mauricio Leal commenced on May 12, 2023. The prosecution sought a 60-year prison sentence from the courtroom located in La Picota prison, where he was being held. Throughout the trial, Mauricio pleaded not guilty. More than 100 pieces of evidence were presented to substantiate the claim that Mauricio had taken the lives of Mauricio and Marlene. Among the most significant evidence was the farewell letter that Mauricio allegedly forced Mauricio to write. The sequence of events, including messages and phone calls, directly linked Mauricio to the crimes. Furthermore, evidence was presented of messages Mauricio sent to Mauricio and Marlene after their deaths, demonstrating his attempt to mislead authorities while being aware of his culpability. Family friends also testified, recounting the conflicts that had occurred between Mauricio and Mauricio. One of the testimonies was given by Esteban Drago, a colleague and friend of Mauricio with whom he had worked for over 8 years. According to Drago's testimony, Mauricio was experiencing financial difficulties, and it was Mauricio who helped pay off his debts. Drago also mentioned that Mauricio harbored jealousy towards his brother, not only due to Mauricio's business success, but also because he was their mother's favorite. After the crime, Mauricio reportedly attempted to take control of Mauricio's and Marlene's financial accounts. The prosecution noted that during the investigations, a substantial amount of cash belonging to Mauricio was seized, raising questions during the trial. Amidst the proceedings, a new testimony emerged aimed at casting reasonable doubt on Mauricio's guilt. This testimony came from Francisca Teresa Munoz, a friend of Marlene's since childhood. She had remained silent for months due to a life-threatening incident in which a hooded individual kidnapped her and her son, threatening her life if she spoke out. However, Francisca decided to testify under oath, citing her deteriorating health and limited time left to live. Francisca accused Mauricio's half-brother, Carlos Andres, who was incarcerated at the time. She stated that Carlos frequently called her, urging her to persuade Marlene to help him get out of prison. Francisca described him as furious with both his mother and Mauricio for allegedly refusing to assist him. She recalled that Marlene expressed her concerns about Carlos, indicating that he was extorting her for around $5,000 to cover legal fees. According to Francisca, Carlos even threatened Marlene, saying he was contemplating taking both Marlene's and Mauricio's lives because he was tired of waiting for their help. Carlos Andres filed a lawsuit against Francisca Teresa Munoz for false testimony, slander, and libel after learning of her accusations, asserting that they were baseless and damaging to his reputation. However, there have been no updates regarding this case, leaving the outcome unknown. The judicial process experienced numerous delays for various reasons, prolonging the arrival of justice. Nevertheless, the memory of Mauricio remained alive in Colombia, and by November 2023, the case resurfaced in the headlines with the premiere of the series Historia de un crimen, Mauricio Leal, on a popular streaming platform. The series, which followed a detective's investigation to unravel the mystery of Mauricio and his mother's deaths, became a significant success, reaching the top rankings on the platform. In January 2024, a new hearing was conducted where the defense argued that the defendant had already spent nearly 2 years in custody without a resolution to the case. They highlighted that the prosecution had not made any requests for the defendant's release. However, the judge denied the motion for release due to the expiration of the terms, pointing out that delays had occurred on both sides, involving both the prosecution and Jonier's legal representatives. Finally, on Monday, February 26, 2024, the 51-year-old man was found guilty on all charges. According to the judge, the evidence unequivocally proved that he had murdered his mother and brother to seize the family's false fortune. Jonier described the sentence as almost a capital punishment, considering his age, as he faced a potential 60-year prison term. Ultimately, on June 14th, he was sentenced to 663 months in prison, equivalent to 55 years and 3 months. The verdict was welcomed by Mauricio and Malini's family and friends, as well as the prosecutor. Jonier's appeal claimed there were inconsistencies in the case and that the conviction had not been established beyond a reasonable doubt. Although this conviction appeared to close the shocking case that had horrified all of Colombia, it reignited the public's interest in the tragedy. In August 2024, a new video surfaced in which Mauricio was allegedly seen confessing that he had initially taken his own life. The 21-second clip, aired by Caracol News Network, shows Mauricio on his deathbed, apparently with his mother, who seems to be lifeless beside him. In a low voice, Mauricio expresses that he can't take it anymore, stating that no one knows what is happening. Displaying signs of discomfort and pain, he lifts the sheets to reveal his wounds, with his white t-shirt soaked in blood around his abdomen and chest. After tucking himself back in, he utters the phrase, "I just buried knives." During a journalistic report by the same outlet, it was revealed that the prosecution had never disclosed the existence of this video during the judicial proceedings. In this context, Jonier's defense attorney claimed that the prosecution would take legal action against them, arguing that the footage constituted evidence that could exonerate Jonier, as it supported the initial hypothesis presented in the case. Following the video's release, a channel on a popular social media platform published the complete original tape, which lasts 47 seconds. In this longer version, Mauricio can be heard asking someone, "What else do I do?" suggesting that he may have been coerced into recording the message while being given instructions. Toward the end, it appears that someone takes the phone and positions him in a way that Mauricio would not have been able to achieve due to his critical condition. Based on audio analysis and the positioning in the recording, several experts concluded that there was undoubtedly another person present during the filming. As Mauricio attempted to use his right arm, any movement would have required him to shift his body, which did not occur. Interestingly, viewers noted that a voice can be heard saying, "The sheet and Sierra," immediately after Mauricio makes a pained gesture, opening his mouth. The video sparked intense controversy throughout Colombia. Hundreds of social media users questioned the validity of the alleged confession, aligning with expert opinions. Many believe that the recording reinforces the prosecutor's thesis, which argued that before his death, Jonier coerced his brother into leaving evidence to make it appear as though he had taken his own life. Furthermore, many users wondered about the source of the recording. It was revealed that it was found on Mauricio's cell phone, which had been transferred to the media by Carlos Andres, the stylist's half-brother. Since Carlos was incarcerated, he could not physically receive the phone, thus it was handed over to the family's lawyer, who then sent the material to the media. The late emergence of this video led to severe criticism of the prosecution for failing to present this crucial evidence during the trial. Some professionals who analyzed the case stated that the video could have significantly influenced the trial's outcome. The prosecutor responded by asserting that he was unaware of the video's existence, and that the analyst responsible for reviewing Mauricio's cell phone had only examined parts pertinent to the prosecution's case. For Jonier's lawyer, the revelation of this video raised concerns about possible concealment of evidentiary material that should have been reviewed. She clarified her intention to request a change in the prosecutor handling the case. The investigator responsible for the custody and analysis of the materials from Mauricio's phone remarked that he had not noticed the video's existence despite it being listed in the evidence inventory. He emphasized that all evidence extracted from the victim's cell phone had been duly legalized before the judges of control of guarantees, indicating that there was no concealment of evidence, as the defense had suggested, but rather a simple oversight. Additionally, a report from a special agency commissioned by the prosecutor's office addressed all doubts and allegations regarding the omission of this video. The victim's family stated that it was unnecessary for the prosecution to utilize this video, asserting that its omission did not impact the criminal proceedings against Jonier at all. In recent days, both family members and friends of Mauricio have expressed their thoughts regarding the recordings, which continue to generate discussion in Colombia and throughout Latin America. The outcomes of the appeals made by Jonier before the Superior Court of Bogota are still pending, and he has indicated that he would take his case as far as the Supreme Court of Justice if necessary. It seems that not everything has been fully revealed, and we may learn more details in the coming days. Well, boys and girls, that brings us to the end of today's video. As mentioned in the script, this is a very shocking case that sparked much conversation at the time. We initially discussed it when we first uncovered everything that was happening, and we now conclude it with this new information. There is already a conviction and a wealth of evidence implicating Jonier, and this video may have only solidified his time in prison. We will see what unfolds in the coming days regarding his appeal and whether the trial will be retried. As it stands, Jonier is guilty of the deaths of his brother and mother. He sought to inherit his brother's money due to his substantial debts, which ultimately led him to commit this heinous act. If there are any updates or if he is exonerated, you will be informed here when everything comes to light. If you found this video informative, please leave your comments. Remember to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I upload videos 3 to 4 times a week, and if you're subscribed, you will receive notifications every time I upload new content. You can also follow me on other social networks. Until next time, goodbye.